say anything additional about it, which is several people asked, how do you keep yourself motivated in the face of resignation, or some variation of something about resignation? That's something that's very present for people today. Would you say the answer you just gave is in that domain as well? Resignation.
Yeah, for sure. There's just, yes, look, here's the first thing to do to start dealing with resignation, if that's an issue, or fear, if that's an issue, and that is, I want you to find it out in life. I want you to show me I want you to see this thing about which you seem to be speaking, this thing called fear. I want to see it. I don't see it anyplace. I've looked all over the universe, and I can't see resignation, and I can't see fear. Oh, I see. That's something going on with me internally. And that's the only place that it is. Now, is that who I am? Now, that's the beginning of a transformation in who you are for yourself, so that you can actually get beyond what is going on with me internally. Yeah, there's something going on with me internally, and probably there always is, but I've now gotten to the place where I no longer go through life that I am. And it's that transformation, and it is a transformation. It's no good as an understanding. You know, the neuroscience is overwhelmingly clear that you aren't calling the shots with what's going on with you internally. If you don't think, your brain generates thoughts and you have them. And your brain generates feelings and you have them. And your brain generates attitudes and you have them. And your brain generates bodily states and you just have them. And if you can get to the place, and you can, because thousands of people do it over the course of the time that we've been presenting the leadership course, people have gotten beyond being dictated to by what is going on with them internally. And it is a matter, the transformation happens when there's no longer any significance to what is going on with me internally. Yeah, I've now been doing this long enough so that I have no significance. I place no significance in what's going on with me internally. I have a lot of significance on my word, but no significance on what's going on with me internally. And consequently, because I'm able to let it be, it lets me be. And that I would say is a critical part of getting into the place where you exercise leadership, where you are being a leader and exercising leadership effectively as your natural self-expression. Okay, before I talk people to death, I'm going to shut up.
Thank you. Not for shutting up, for such a great answer.
Okay.
How about this one? We'll start with Mike. I have this for both of you, but I thought this was a good question. To be a leader, what does a leader need to stop doing? So, Mike, what would you say to that first? To be a leader, what does a leader need to stop doing?
Well, you need to stop thinking about and being concerned about yourself. And you really do need to be concerned and focused on what's going on in the environment in which this issue has arisen. And if you pay attention to that and get out of your head and concerned about yourself, there'll be big changes possible.
Thank you. Werner, what would you say? What does
I wouldn't add anything to what Mike said. I think that's right. You know, look, here's another way one goes through life. If I ask you, Joe, where are you? Hey, Joe, where are you? Joe's going to answer, I'm here. And and in a discussion, Joe and I are going to come to the realization that the thing I call the thing I refer to when I say I or me, is located here. And if I look at it long enough and seriously enough, I find out that everything not me is located there. And, I've gone through life that I'm here and everything not me is there. Now, there's one little problem with that, and that is life doesn't happen here. It happens where what most people would call there. And as Mike said, you got to get out what people call there. In the leadership course, we would give people a new dimension so that they have access to what we will call out here, and not a representation of what's out here, but direct access to what's out here. And that's a fairly long process, so we won't get very far in this conversation. But suppose who I am is not this thing that's stuck in here. And many people who participate find that that's not who they are really. But as I said, that's a fairly long process. I think it takes about 6 days.
You're right.
and 2 days of work with your team. Go ahead. Sorry.
That was great, Werner. Thank
I'm
you.
going to shut up for a little bit now.
I was just going to say, that takes 6 days, or maybe a few more.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Mike, so we have a series of questions here about integrity, and so we're going to start there. So why don't we start with you, Mike? Referring to your model of integrity, you say, without integrity, nothing works. I'm wondering, what is your definition of workability?
Well, we all know what it feels like to be in a situation where it's not working. You have conflicts, you have the lack of progress, and on and on. When something has integrity, it has workability, it functions. And that might be yourself, it might be an object or a machine, or it might be a system, or it might be a group. And so creating workability is absolutely critical to getting productivity, to creating productivity, getting things done, and making a difference in the world.
Yeah, and I want to add to what Mike said, which comes right out of the work that Mike and I have done on integrity. It's a what's underneath it all answer. So if something is, let's take a system. Let's take your telephone. So if your telephone is whole, complete, unbroken, sound, in perfect condition, then it has maximum workability. Now, you can abuse your phone, even though at this point it has maximum workability. So maximum workability doesn't mean maximum performance. It means the greatest opportunity for performance. So, for example, if your phone is if the design of the phone is whole and complete against its intended use, and the manufacturer of the phone is whole and complete against the design, and I use my phone consistent with its design, I get perfect workability. Now, I might use the phone to create mischief. But at least I've got workability. So in a very fundamental way, workability is a matter of being whole, complete, unbroken, sound, and perfect condition. Now, again, we've got really too little time to do the question or the answer justice. There is 2 pre-classroom readings that have to do with integrity, where we define integrity as the state of an object or a system or a person or a group or an organization, the state of an object, system, person, group, or organization being whole, complete, unbroken, sound, and in perfect condition, that when that state is realized, you've got maximum workability and therefore maximum opportunity for performance. You may not have maximum performance because you have to take advantage of the opportunity, but at least you've got maximum opportunity for performance. So again, to put it in a few words, workability is a product of something being whole, complete, unbroken, sound, and perfect condition as to its design, the implementation of design, and the use to which it's put.
Thank you. In the same integrity realm, this was another one we got in a few ways. How does an individual being led in an organization exercise leadership when the moral actions of the CEO are being questioned and there are serious justifiable concerns about his integrity? Mike, why don't we start with you on that one? And
repeat the question.
Yeah.
you bet. How does an individual, and one of this is on the second page, Faye, how does an individual being led in an organization exercise leadership when the moral actions of the CEO are being questioned and there are serious justifiable concerns about his integrity?
Well, when you've got a system or an object or a person that is out of integrity, things don't work well, and they may not work at all. So one of the things that's extremely important if you're going to get anywhere to resolving the issues that are coming up is to be able to move the system or the situation to one in which integrity is closer to being fully in existence.
Yeah, as Mike will tell you, by the way, integrity is, and Mike says it better than I, but you don't need other people to act with integrity for you to act with integrity. And one of the things that could possibly turn a boss around is to find someone behaving with integrity and seeing what accrues to the person who does act with integrity in spite of dealing in an environment that lacks integrity. As Mike says, there's going to be a cost, but it's nice that you can act with integrity without having to have the boss act with integrity. And I'm suggesting that in the process of your questioning in what way must I behave to behave with integrity, you may well influence the boss and perhaps even find a way of accessing the boss such that you can make a difference in the boss's acting with integrity. I tell you a quick story. So when I was a youngster in my 20s, I was very, very, very proud of the fact that I was a vice president of a division of a Fortune 50 company. Now, I didn't tell everybody that the division was minute, but nevertheless, I thought it was a big deal, and I was very proud of it, and I thought it was important, and blah, 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 blah. But I gave a guy that I hired my word that the company would not take back from his income with the company money that he had left the company owing when he had worked for the company earlier. And so when the time came, my boss said, no, we got to take that back. We can't let him get away with having stolen, as far as Harmon was concerned, money. And so I wound up having to resign, because I told this guy that I would resign if the company did that with him. And so I did resign. And it was painful. I had worked hard to get where I was. There wasn't anybody even close to my age in the division I worked in who had a position like mine, and so it was painful, and I had to give up the position. But I want to tell you something. I never, ever, ever again doubted my strength to keep my word. And as you will find out if you do ever get a chance to read the pre-classroom reading, integrity is a matter of one's word, nothing more and nothing less. Whether one is an individual or an organization or a group, integrity for a human being or any other human entity like a group or an organization is a matter of one's word, nothing more, nothing less. Okay, again, I talked too long, Ann.
That was fabulous. Thank you. This one's for both of you guys. I'm about to retire. How do I exercise leadership effectively when I'm no longer part of the structures or enterprises in which my leadership typically occurs? Why don't we start with you, Mike?
So if I understand the question, so I'm about to retire.
Yep.
Just repeat the question.
You bet. And Werner, this is on the first page, Jay's question.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm about to retire. How do I exercise leadership effectively when I'm no longer part of the structures or enterprises in which my leadership typically occurred?
Well, what you leave behind you when you retire, when you finally do retire, is going to play a very important role in the productivity and success of the organization. And that's going to depend on whether in your leaving you've done it with integrity and you leave the systems behind you and the people behind you with integrity. And you've demonstrated it and left it behind. Very important.
Yeah, the other thing is that, at 80, most of the people I've been close to in life are retirement age, but they have found something that is of fundamental interest or importance to them that they are now contributing not as they did when they were part of an organization, but still contributing and making a difference in many ways in new things that they when they were part of a business or an organization they didn't have time to deal with.
Thank you. All right, let's see, Werner, let's start with you on this one. How can we have our leaders working for the benefit of all? That's on page 3, Jennifer's question.
You know, I think that when you come to know who you are really, that is an expression of who you are really. And the job of my coming to know who I am really takes work. So, again, what page is that on, Ann?
Page 3, Jennifer's question.
Okay, hold on, Jennifer. I'll get there and try to be a little bit more pertinent to the question. Yeah, here's what I've seen. So I've seen people give up important professions. I've seen people give up important jobs to do what Jennifer's talking about because those people have come to know who they are really. They've gotten past the way they wound up being, even though the way they wound up being made them very successful. But perhaps I don't even say perhaps, there is a difference between discovering who you are really and making the most of the way you wound up being. And when you discover who you are really, your natural self-expression is to work for the benefit of the all. And that's as close as I'm going to come. It's not very practical, unfortunately, because it's not all that easy to get a substantial number of people who've gotten to that place. But there's something called a tipping point. And so as long as I'm still around, I'm interested in contributing to that tipping point.
Werner, would you say that that is something that's available in the leadership course, that discovering who you are really?
Yeah,
I mean,
here's the thing, Ann. I think it's important for people who are thinking about participating to understand that what makes this leadership course strange, if you will, is that it's a good part of it is about who I need to be in order to be a leader and exercise leadership effectively as my natural self-expression, so that I'm used by being a leader and I'm used by what it takes to exercise leadership effectively, rather than I know a lot and I've practiced a lot and I've figured out a lot. No, it's a matter of getting beyond, losing the bonds of the way I wound up being. You know, I'm just going to use myself as an example. So I was very, 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 very successful. I mean, never mind that the ways in which I measured success. I was very, very successful, and I was certainly locked into being who I wound up being. I didn't have any freedom to be beyond the way I wound up being. When I got to found that I wasted my life, albeit I was successful if the way you count success is lots of money, big cars. You walk into a restaurant and you're Mr. Earhart in that restaurant, and all of the things that, even the things that I did that were decent and genuine, I did them in order to look good or whatever, or in order to be appreciated, in order to be liked, and it was always in order to something. And it just all life became very different the day I stopped being limited to the way I wound up being. And the course, because it's about the freedom to be and the freedom to act beyond the way I wound up being, so that my way of being and my way of acting is a natural self-expression. That's why the course deals with the kinds of things that I've been talking about, because they're what's required to be a leader and exercise leadership effectively, but as my natural self-expression.
Thank you. Mike, is there anything you would add to either what's been said or how we can have our leaders working for the benefit of all?
Nope, I don't have anything to add.
Yeah, pretty well said, and perfect timing, because we're right near the end of the webinar. So I really thank you, gentlemen, and appreciate your taking time out of your very busy.
And let me just put two words in here. And
Absolutely.
I'd like the people who are on the call to know that it was my pleasure to speak to you. Why? Because for you to be on the call says something about who you are, who you choose to be. And it's always a privilege to be able to participate with the kind of people I know you had to be on the call. So, Ann, thanks for the opportunity, and thanks to all of the people who participated.
Our pleasure. All right, so just in closing, for those of you on, we want to let you know to watch your inbox for the link to the recording of this webinar. And when you click that link, there will be instructions for how to share that, as I had said earlier, with your colleagues or friends if you would like to. And I'll remind you again, please do not post it on public websites or social media. It's for your personal use. You will receive an email with that link. You will also receive an invitation for upcoming webinars and various specials between now and when we begin our leadership course. And most importantly, you will get a special promo code for any of you that are considering joining us for the October Being a Leader and the Effective Exercises of Leadership course in Mexico. As Werner said, and we could barely do justice to what is available in that course here in 1 hour. And we really invite you to come and participate with us in this 8-day intensive and discover your leadership as your natural self-expression. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and this completes the webinar. Maureen, go ahead and end the recording and close us out. All right, we're going to begin. It